Hi, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and today I'd like to share with you some outside-the-box ideas that I created using the contents of the May 2019 first global ever paper pumpkin kit from Stampin' Up! Titled Hugs from Shelli. I love these kits because you really get a lot of product for the price, and they're convenient. They come straight to my mailbox each month and contain everything that I need to make fun, creative cards and gifts. I also receive a publication with directions, tips, photos, a ruler for measuring, details about the kit, and a link to a how-to video to help guide me in assembling. And the best part, I receive an exclusive stamp set, a huge one, look at that, and a mini ink pad that I can use over and over again even after the consumables from the kit are used up. A clear block, which was included free with my first kit for mounting and using my stamps, and my scissors are the only extra supplies that I need to provide. Paper pumpkin kits are just $22 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. So, super affordable, right? And you control which months you get your kits. There's no commitment or obligation. This month's kit is super special because the co-founder of Stampin' Up! Herself had a hand in it. Shelli Gardner worked closely with designers and concept artists to create a paper pumpkin kit that is uniquely her style. It contains 12 beautiful cards, 3 of each of these 4 designs. And though I love the cards as is, I have this thing inside me that loves to think outside the box. With every kit there's been, I create and share alternate projects so Paper Pumpkin subscribers can see that there are so many more possibilities, so many more options with those kit supplies. These kits are produced through Stampin' Up!, so the colors, images, and supplies coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these coordinating products as I share my alternate projects. You can find these items listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of these projects. I'm excited to create with you, so let's get started. Another thing that makes this month's kit super special is that it is global. It's being offered all over the world in our North American, our European, and our South Pacific markets. So you're going to see when you open up the instructions, multiple languages inside. Super special. When I opened up this kit, I was amazed. This kit makes 12 beautiful cards. So I thought, if I add in some note cards and envelopes in the very vanilla pack, and I brought in just a little pack of embellishments. These are some of our self-adhesive sequins. I bet I could double the cards in this kit. So you can have 24 beautiful cards from one kit. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Basically what I started out with is I took all the pieces that I would use to make all 4 of these cards, including the envelopes, and I put them in front of me and I started playing around. With the pack of cardstock and envelopes, little note cards and envelopes, you get 20 cards, you get 20 envelopes. So I divided that by 3 because there are 3 sets of 4 cards, and I made sure that I put 6 card bases and 6 envelopes with each full set of supplies for those 4 unique cards. And then I started to divide them out. So let's see what I came up with. Here we go. And a heads up, I like to substitute my ergonomic blocks for the block that I received in my first kit, the larger stamp pads for the small spots that you get in your kits, and I like to use my snail adhesive instead of these glue dots that come in the kit just because it's quick, it's easy, I have it already, but no need to worry about having these supplies because your kits will include what you need. Let's go ahead and start by trimming our first card down a bit. We're going to take this piece here and we're going to trim it. Normally the cards are 3.5 inches wide when folded in half like this, and we're going to trim this down to 3 3.25. And we're doing it from this side because I think the nest is more balanced if we trim this 1/4 inch off instead. And then you can choose which part you want to trim off here. I'll go ahead and just trim off the top. And now we have a card front ready to go. Now this piece we're going to use 2 times. So for the first card, I think we're going to trim it, I want to say at 1 inch. And then the other piece that's left over, which would be 2.5 inches, we're going to trim very carefully. Make sure that you have a sharp blade, because when you trim on a score line, it can sometimes get caught up. So we're just going to trim right on that score line. Now you can certainly use these pieces for something else. In fact, let's just set those aside for now. So now we have these pieces ready to go. We'll go ahead and start assembling 3 cards based on those pieces. So we're going to grab one of our card bases from our note cards and envelope kit. And I'm going to grab a bone folder really quick just to reinforce that fold. Bone folder is an awesome tool. It helps to reinforce adhesive. It helps crease on score lines. It's not a necessary tool, but it's really nice to have. So now we'll bring our snail adhesive in, and we'll just add this right to the front of our card. Remember, it's 1/4 inch smaller in each direction. So this piece is now 3¼ inches by 4 3/4, fitting on the front of our, you know what, I'm going to flip it over because I see just a little bit of edge from this side. So this is going to be my front instead. That's a little tip I have for you. So when you fold your card bases in half, if you've seen extra on one side, that becomes your front. All right, now we're going to stamp our small label, and you can open up your pads this way by pushing at the top, or you can lift right here. Either way, you just rotate it and stick it into the base. We'll ink up our stamp just by tapping lightly. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on these kinds of pads. They are firm foam pads. They're wonderful to stamp with. They make nice crisp designs. We have our hello stamped on there. Such a pretty script. I love the script that comes with this kit. Let's set that aside. We'll clean off our stamp in a minute. Now we'll take just about, I think it's about 8 inches, maybe less, of this twine that comes in the kit. And we're going to put some adhesive on the back side. And we're going to loop our twine behind here. Now this is one thing that they instruct to do on one of the cards. I'll show you that one in just a second here. So we're just doing the same type of thing. I think it's this one here. So you can just do the same thing on this little piece here. And to save on the twine, you don't have to like take and make a circular mess and then stick your tag down on it. You just put adhesive on the back, and you can see I'm already saving because I'm not using a lot. It's not coming through the middle and wasting a lot. So now we'll trim that. I do have 2 scissors. I use 1 scissors just for fibers and ribbons, and so I mark it with a little ribbon. And then I have a scissors that dulls a little bit faster because I use it just for paper. Now we'll take our dimensionals that come in the kit, and actually, you know what, I think I'm going to use the edges because that way it goes quicker. We're just going to trim along the edges here and take one of those longer pieces and go right across that mess like that. And that will help to hold down multiple pieces of twine. And to balance it out, I think we'll stick one more across the middle. Yes, use those edges. Okay, so now we'll just take off the backings and stick it down on the front of our card. And then our little birdie can just go in the upper corner here of the tag. And there's one. For the second card, I'm going to add in those fun sequins. So let's go ahead and stamp our thank you going across our piece that is 2.5 inches tall by 5 inches wide. We'll stamp that right in the lower right hand corner. And then we're going to stamp some flowers in kind of a strange position here. They are centered, kind of angled upward, well, angled downward, I should say. The stem is angled upward. And they're going to be kind of like a little background for this piece here. So you can see why I kind of angled them that way. Now we'll take our twine and we'll wrap that around twice. So I have about 28 inches of twine here. I'll wrap it once and twice, and we'll tie a knot. With twine, it's much easier if you tie a knot first and then your bow, because it's so super darn skinny. Let's take the twists out of here. And I'm just doing a little shifting of my twine so that it looks like it's in a good spot for putting this down on dimensionals. And I think I'm going to put this little piece of string here coming out underneath the dimensionals. So we'll just stick a couple of these on the back. Very fun. This is going to go on the front of the card here, so we'll go ahead and just adhere that with some snail adhesive. And then we'll just grab some of our sequins and add them where they look best. And there is card number 2. For this third piece, I'm going to bring in another card base, the one with the flowers on it, and a medium-sized label, plus the little punch-out flowers that have the leaves on them, and 19 inches of the pink twine. Let's start by stamping our grateful first. Now we're going to trim off 1 inch from the bottom of this card. And we'll take and attach this piece on the inside, bottom section. So that we have that look. Now we'll bring our twine around once and tie it in a knot and then in a bow. This piece is going to get stuck here, so we'll use dimensionals for that, but we're going to shift this down just a bit. And to make sure that this doesn't fall off the card, I'm going to put a couple dimensionals down here. You could also put a glue dot behind the bow, the little knot portion of the bow. And then we want to make sure that we're not putting any adhesive down here because it's going to be free when we open up the card. So we just need dimensionals right along the top. Now we'll adhere this piece to the bottom right portion of this label. And there's our third card. Card number 4 is going to be a fun fold card. I've already pre-stamped with my words love and hugs onto the front side of this envelope. We're going to take this piece, I already put dimensionals on the back, that's going to go on the inside lower portion of the card. We're going to use this extra flower here and we're going to take this envelope and trim it down. So let's start by trimming it. Let's trim the bottom about 1/8 of an inch off, maybe 1/16 of an inch, just so that it starts opening up the envelope. Now you'll notice as I'm trimming this that was 5 inches because it was about 5 1/8, so I trimmed off a little extra, and now we're going to go in just a tad and trim off a little bit more. So it's 4 7/8 inches wide. Super quick way to separate an envelope like that. Now we'll grab this piece and we'll just trim that down. So if our card base is 5 inches in one direction and it's 3.5 in the other direction, we want this to be just shy 1/8 of an inch in, so just under 3.5 inches by 1/8. So 3 3/8 inches. Now these pieces here you could totally use for another card. We'll just set those aside for now. And let's bring in our vanilla card base here. Now, if we want to make a fun fold, one of my favorite fun folds to make, it's super easy, is an easel card. So this is going to get propped up if we can fold right here, and the card will look like this when it's propped open. So let's give this one more crease line through the middle. So if this is 3.5 inches in this direction, half of 3.5 is 1.5 plus 1/4, so 1 3/4 inches. We're going to put adhesive just on the bottom portion of this section because we don't want this to be stuck to the top. We want to be able to have this fold away like that. Okay, so let's just take and put adhesive there. And you'll want to make sure that you're not going all the way to the edge because we have that 1/16 of an inch all the way around. This piece is going to get stuck on like that, so we'll just put a little adhesive behind there, either with the glue dots in the kit or a snail, whatever's easiest for you. And that just balances out the card a little bit that way. This piece is going to go on the inside. So this just goes right along here. The reason why it's up on dimensionals is because when you open up the card, you want this to be able to prop up against something like that. And then you can see the whole beautiful little floral border there on the bottom. Yes, it needs some sequins. So let's pull out our sequins. We have a whole bunch of different colors in here. We have kind of a crumb cake color. There's a white in there. There's one that's sort of multicolor, green and blue, and I don't know, almost kind of a little purple or violet in there. And then we have the pink. And we have another green that's very earthy green, kind of like this. I really liked the greenish sequins, the ones that were kind of an earthy green. So I added 3 of those to the front of this card. Person can write on the inside of that card, and then when the card is on display, all that writing is hidden in private. I also added one of those earthy green sequins over here because I felt my grateful was stamped off to the right a little bit too much, so balance that one out a little bit. So there's card number 4. For card number 5, I'm using another one of the pink envelopes, the one with the nest, and I was really careful to trim super close to the edges of the envelope so that this is still 5 inches wide. I used the stamps Dear Friend and For You. Now I'm going to open it up and I'm going to position it this way so I can see the nest. And I want the nest to stay in range, so we're going to make sure that in our trimmer we're not cutting through the nest. And we'll just trim right there. And this is about a quarter of an inch. So we want about the same on this side, which I believe it brings it to about 2 3/8 inches on this side. And now we have this beautiful little leaf pattern here. I want to use that. So I'm going to trim, I think we have about 1/2 inch on this side. Yes. So we're going to trim a 1/2 inch in. I'm going to use this side instead on my trimmer. We're going to trim a 1/2 inch of that and another 1/2 inch of this one, so that we have a top and bottom border. You can save that. And these will just kind of go along here on the front of our card base. So let's grab another one of our very vanilla card bases. We'll fold it in half and give it a good crease. So this is just a real plain and simple card, but it's super pretty. You know what's fun is while I'm making this card, the birds outside are singing right now. It's so appropriate. On this envelope, I have a little bit extra vanilla on one side than I do on the other, so I want to make sure that that's even. We're going to bring this all the way up to the crease of the front of the card. And then we'll do the same thing with this piece. We'll bring it all the way to the bottom. And we're going to have a small gap in between. So that's why we're doing the top and the bottom first. Can you hear the birds? Maybe you can't hear the birds. And then we'll go ahead and put this piece on the middle of the card with that slight gap, which looks super pretty. A little bit of vanilla in between. So there we have another finished card. Now if you want bling on it, you could always add a couple little sequins on there, but I think it looks super pretty by itself. Next one. We're going to go ahead and trim down this card to 3 1/4 inches for this piece here, and then we'll trim it in, trim off 1/4 inch on this side. So we now have a piece that's slightly smaller than the front of a note card. And this piece we'll save for the next cards. So this is card number 6 now. we'll grab one of our note card bases. And this is going to go on the front of the card like that. It's going to be popped up on dimensionals. So we're taking our velvet ribbon, we're actually going to stretch it across, have a little extra on each end, and we'll wrap that around and glue dot it to the back side. So I have about, I think it's about 5¼ inches. So we're going to adhere that here. It's going to come around and we're going to glue dot it to that spot. We're going to stamp this. This is going to go on the front of the card like that. I love that the adhesive sticks right to the back side of this velvet ribbon. It's awesome. So we're going to put that right through the middle, and eyeballing it is just fine. If you want to measure it, you certainly can. And then again, because we have this thickness back here, we want that to be popped up on dimensionals, so we're going to put a little dimensional in each corner. And this will go on the front of our card. Make sure your birds are going upright. They do have a direction to them. And I switched out the labels. I decided I wanted the smaller one more because I think that this image of the bird fits in here much better. So we're going to stamp the bird. We're not going to stamp a sentiment in here. We're going to stamp the bird. And then on the inside of the card, we're going to stamp the other bird. We'll also put a little sentiment in here. So let's pop this up on dimensionals here. Be careful when you put your dimensionals on so that you have them at the top and the bottom of the label. If they're going through the middle, you're going to have too much bulk from that ribbon, that velvety ribbon. That velvety ribbon is in a new color, Pretty Peacock. It's coming out in the June 4th, well, it starts June 4th. It's coming out in the 2019 through 20 annual catalog that debuts June 4th. So that goes there. Now I noticed that with my sequins that this is kind of a champagne-ish color, this little metallic color there. So we're going to go ahead and add some of these crumb cake-ish, light gold kind of champagne looking sequins to the front of this card too. And there is card number 6 finished. Now if you recall at the beginning we had 6 note cards per set of 4 cards from the kit. These are the original cards. We've split up those supplies and then I added 6 note cards and 6 envelopes. And so we haven't used all our envelopes. We're saving 2 of our envelopes because we wanted to double the kit. So these 2 are going to remain for the cards that we've finished, and then we also have 6 additional envelopes. We also have this 6th card base left, a half of our blue card base left, and then a full one of these card bases from the kit, which we're going to trim right now. We're going to trim an inch off the bottom, like we did with that other card at the beginning. And this is going to be added to this card along with a piece from here. Let's trim off an inch from that. So these 2 are going to be added, and we're going to make a vertical card with that, and we're going to use the label. We're also going to bring in, I lost it, the little feather. That's going to go on that card. And then this card is going to be one of our cards like this that opens up like that. So let's go ahead and take our velvet ribbon again, and we're going to put adhesive along the back side and stick it down. And then I'm just going to trim right to the edge of that card. Let me look for that feather. Found it. All right, so let's take our ink pad, open that up again, and we're going to add some feathers, some stamped feathers to this piece. And then I like these little polka dot pieces too. These little dots here. We're going to stamp a little bit of that off onto our scrap paper like that to lighten it up. And then we'll come in and we'll just add a few brown dots here and there. The card base already has a few of them in there, but I just wanted to emphasize that a little bit more. And there is our 5th card. For our last card, we need to do a little bit of trimming first. We're going to trim this piece to 3.5 inches wide. We're going to trim this piece to 3.5 inches wide. We're going to take this label and we're going to trim off just the top and the bottom. And it doesn't matter where you trim it really, unless you're worried about what size this piece is, but we're not going to use that. Next, we're going to attach this piece behind here. And we want it to be centered. So grid paper is awesome because you can find the center of a piece of cardstock just by using this little center space here, the little X. So I'm going to go ahead and center this piece on here. And this is already centered, and we're just going to place it right on top to pick it up. Now we have that right in the center of it. We'll do the same thing with the bottom piece. And that one's going to be centered onto the bottom of this. So I'm using the point from that label, lining that up on this line. Then I'm using the grid here. You can see that it's equal distance all the way out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 squares this way and 7 squares that way. And then I'm slowly just shifting it right on top like that. Now I can turn these over and put adhesive on the back side. We don't need that piece, so you could trim that off and use that on another card if you wanted to, or you could leave it. Now as we stick these down, actually, you know what we might do? We might connect them right here, just overlapping on that space. And I don't have to stick it down really hard, but it will help me to center the rest of this on here. So now I'm going to go ahead and add this really well onto there. We can lift this up and make sure that it's lined up. And we'll add that down there. Awesome. The feather is just going to come in right here. We're going to stamp a little sentiment and we're going to add a little bit of twine here. And there is our 6th card, our finished card. So yay, look at all these beautiful cards that we made by just bringing in those extra note cards and envelopes and the basics adhesive back sequins. We had, instead of 4 cards from that, we got 8. And then of course times 3, you're going to get 24 cards from your kit rather than just 12. You'll end up having 2 extra note cards and envelopes and of course extra sequins, plus these pieces times 3 from all the card pieces that you didn't use. Probably have some extra velvet ribbon and some extra twine, so I'm sure you could come up with 2 extra bonus cards. So gosh, 26 cards from the kit in all. We have a whole suite of products coming out in the new catalog on June 4th that will be available to use that coordinate with this kit. Beautiful products. The Free as a Bird stamp set, coordinating stitched nested label dies. We also have the petal pink striped organdy ribbon. These beautiful bird ballad trinkets. They kind of coordinate with the trinket that comes in the kit. And then, of course, this designer paper, which is the Bird Ballad designer paper. I've also put out here our neutrals assortment of 12 by 12 cardstock. I'll be using some of these things. I won't be using the stamp set or the dies, but I'll be using the paper, the ribbon, the trinkets, and this neutrals pack of cardstock in addition to the kit supplies to make a 12 by 12 scrapbook page spread. I started preparing the pieces for the page. I cut out a little bird, and this comes from one of the sheets from the Designer Series pack of paper. Here's another little piece that's from that pack, and I don't know how wide I need it yet, but it's 12 inches long. And then I have an envelope from the kit that I cut apart, so I have 1.5 inch wide strips. I'll be using the leaf side of that. I have some photo mats, and these are just slightly larger than the true digital size photos, which are typically 4 inches by 5 3/8 inches. So this is 5.5 by 4 1/8. I'm going to use a couple trinkets. I'm going to use some of this ribbon, the large label, this the 2 little pink flowers in the kit, and then I took one of the note cards, trimmed off this section here. I'm going to be using this as a photo mat, but the other one I carefully fussy cut all the way around. And so let's go ahead and start putting these pieces together. For the spread, I'm going to be using 2 pieces of 12 by 12 early espresso cardstock from my neutrals pack. And of course I cut down my crumb cake pieces from that same pack of paper. These will be going across this way horizontally, and then I'll have a couple vertical photo mats going this way. I'll have some ribbon going across to connect both pages, and I'll be adding the designer paper onto both the right and the left side. This paper is going to be going across here with the nest up towards the top, a couple little flowers in the nest area, the birds sitting on the nest, and then the title of the page will kind of go across. Right now I'm thinking across both pages just slightly, and I'll have these trinkets right underneath like that coming out. And same thing on this side with the photo mats, they'll be going this way. I'll probably have some kind of bow in the middle, and then this extra piece will be in here somewhere. And I may add some stamped images coming off the nest. So I have the mats for the photos in place. The next thing I want to do is connect my blue paper and ribbon strip across the top here. So what I've done is I put some adhesive along the back here and just connected the ribbon to it, and I'm going to tuck it underneath this photo mat and start adhering it down. I have another piece here, which is, you know, the envelope, the flat part, the portion there, but I'm not really worried about how that's going to look because my title piece is going to cover that edge up. So I use the nest to sort of position where I'm going to tuck this paper up to. I want to make sure that it's sort of centered, and I need it to be about the same distance down from the top here. So I'll just take a ruler and measure that to make sure that this is equal distance here. So as you saw, the last few things that I did to the page is I stamped the title, I split this piece into 2 pieces, I curled up the ends of the leaves on these 2 pieces and stuck this one down here, this one here, and put that one in the nest. Before I actually added these flowers, I colored with my Stampin' Write markers. I used Pool Party and I used Pear Pizzazz, both from the Subtles collection of markers, and I just emphasized the color on the leaves and on the eggs. I added the bird, and I added this trinket behind this side. I was going to add 2 of them, but I think that's when I was picturing the title onto the left piece or the left page completely. But now that it's over here and closer to the nest, I just thought one would look nice. I also stamped this background through here, just a few flowers behind there just to give it a little bit more texture. And so here are the finished pages. Here is the right page, and here is the left page. And together, they look like that. I made a lot. It's not fitting in here. Now that you've watched my video, I hope that you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more with these super affordable kits. I hope that you gained some inspiration from what I've shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more Paper Pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other Paper Pumpkin kit ideas in future and past posts, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. You'll find these links in my description below. And to get spoiled with extra goodies, gifts, prizes, and extra exclusive Paper Pumpkin project ideas, get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.